Yo, Robert Faringo with Doc Sports here with your Hump Day hero, Nolan Patrick of Strike Point Sports. Be sure to check us out at docsports.com. That's DOC sports.com, the number one sports handicapping, sports information site in the industry. This is our 50-year anniversary. Congratulations to us. And if you bang the banner, we will set you up with $60 free to use towards any handicapper service in any sport that you want. But let's be honest, we know that you want Nolan Patrick in Strike Point Sports, and we know you want in on their NBA action. Nolan, 2-1 in your last 3 picks. Real nice win with the Knicks on Monday over the Lakers. They were obviously the more motivated team in that game. What do we got going on? What do we have to look forward to this week?
Oh, we got a big play, big NBA play end of the week. We've got some really sharp plays that lead up to the big one, but the one that we're really focused on is going to go Friday night. It's a can't miss spot. We've had our eye on it. We're really excited about that. But we've got some sharp stuff to get you through the week, though.
All right. We are recording this on Tuesday night, so Tuesday plays are still pending. But we are talking Wednesday action, and obviously we have to start with Brooklyn versus Philadelphia. These are the fun ones, right? Last week, we talked about Utah and Phoenix. Fun game there. I would like to point out that one of us took Utah, which was you, and one of us took Phoenix, which was me, and I was obviously right about this game. But one of the things we talked about was, while these are the exciting games, these are the games that really get the blood pumping of the general public and the sports betting public. You might not always want to bet these games. There might not be a lot of value in these marquee situations. What's your initial thought on this game, though? Value, watch strictly as a fan, watch for more information. What are your initial thoughts with Brooklyn and Philadelphia?
My initial thought is I called Donovan Mitchell and yelled at him for missing that free throw. So you ended up winning that game and I didn't. I wasn't very pleased about that. No, 76ers at home. We've talked about it. We've talked about it at length. This is a team that wins monster games on their home floor. And I think you're going to see that again. You know, there's guys that are going to be out. James Harden's not going to play, hoping that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving are both going to play in this game. Hopefully we see Joel Embiid. And overall, I think this is a bad matchup for the Nets. I really do. I think you're going to see a motivated 76ers team, and I think there's going to be value on the Sixers. I think people are going to see Durant and Kyrie, and they're going to want to put money on the Nets. But I think that the value lies with Philadelphia.
Well, you really touched on basically everything else I was going to ask you. So we're going to deep dive that a little bit. Like that's my first question basically is, who do you think this game means more to? Because that's the first question you have to ask yourself when you're betting any NBA game, especially these marquee situations. If you remember, that was my reasoning last week in that Utah-Phoenix game. Yes, I agreed with you that Utah is the better team and that they were playing better at the time, but I just felt like the game was going to mean more to a young Suns team. So you said Philadelphia. You think that they're going to be the more motivated team here? Can you expound on that a little bit?
I really do. And you and I have actually talked about this throughout the season. You specifically really like to touch on the Greg Popovich effect, or the coaching impact in a game. Mm-hmm. And, take a look at the two coaches in this game. Who's used to this kind of situation? Is Steve Nash used to this situation? Sure, he was as a player, but as a player, did Nash really ever win that big, huge game in the spotlight late in a season? Whereas I think the 76ers and Doc Rivers are ready to roll, and I think this means a lot to Philly. They want to show that it's not the Nets, it's not Milwaukee, it's Philadelphia that's the team to beat in the East.
Okay, and you talked about the matchup, how it's kind of a bad matchup for Brooklyn, right? And the number one thing that jumps out in this game is that one of these teams plays defense and one of them doesn't. Philadelphia will beat you up. They were fantastic defensively the other night against the Mavericks. They absolutely destroyed a Dallas team that had been playing pretty well and that has a lot of weapons. That game was never really close. Showing a lot of defensive intensity on the road, which is something that Philadelphia has not been doing in recent years. So, you say that, but have they gone up against a offense that's as potent as this Nets team when they have not even all of their main guys, but most of their main guys? Do you think that they're going to be able to match up well and shut down this Brooklyn attack?
I do. I think one thing we really need to take a look at is Kevin Durant going to be on a minutes restriction? He's still making his way back. I think you see Durant play a little bit more in this game, but I do really believe that you're going to see guys like Danny Green and Ben Simmons. You're going to see guys like that really dig in defensively to make a statement in this game. And like I keep, touching on, this game means something to Philly. It really, really does. And with Brooklyn, they know that when they get healthy, they can beat any team in the league by 20 some odd points. They're aware of that. We're all aware of that when Harden, Irving, and Durant are clicking. But right now, Harden's not there. Philly wants it. Philly wants that 1 seed. More games at home. If you get that 1 seed, obviously, they're going to be the motivated team and they're going to win this game.
I think that's a really good point. And this game could set up really well for in-game betting as well, is that if let's say these two teams do come out and match each other motivation and intensity-wise, but Philadelphia is getting the better of the Nets heading into the third quarter or even heading into the fourth quarter, I can absolutely see Brooklyn folding up the tents and being like, we didn't want to win this game anyway. We're not going to play Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter. We're not going to play him in the second half. Brooklyn had to play that weird Tuesday afternoon game because Monday's game at Minnesota was canceled. No Kyrie Irving and no LaMarcus Aldridge Tuesday afternoon, but they play in the afternoon. They won that game by 50, a million, whatever. They dominated in that game. And now they got to turn around and play on back-to-back nights. So, yeah, I could see them, if they start to wear down, just pulling the old, we didn't really want this one anyway. So, we're going to let you have it. And you could see Philadelphia win by double digits. Okay, so that's the big game of the day is the Brooklyn-Philadelphia game on Wednesday. But the big news in the NBA is obviously that Jamal Murray is done for the season. Okay, blew out his ACL. He was injured, missed a few games with a knee injury, comes back, plays 1 game, blows out his knee. He is done for the season. And so is any kind of sleeper hope that Denver had of maybe winning the West or playing for a championship this year. So, Nolan, what do we do with that information? We've talked about this for over a decade about team loses its star player. You absolutely bet on them in the short term, especially their next game. But does this one feel different to you because Murray was hurt, came back, and now, his injury just drove a stake through the Nuggets' hearts?
It does. And this stinks. I'm not a Denver Nuggets fan, but I've grown to appreciate the way they play. Obviously, Jokic is a generational talent. Jamal Murray just made a name for himself in the bubble last year. And this stinks. It really does, because Denver was that team that some of us were excited to just watch in the playoffs. Getting teams to have to go out to Denver and play against a very, very good Nuggets team. Obviously, the addition of Aaron Gordon, a wing defender as well as a guy that can score the basketball. So there was a lot of hype surrounding Denver. But if you've noticed, I believe that they had won maybe 8 games in a row leading up to this little mini 2-game losing streak they're on right now. And over the last 2 games, they've looked just awful. It's like they hit that peak and then just like the price is right, boom, dropped right off. And I don't see any value on them in the near future.
So you don't see the short-term bump, because that's what happened when Murray went out. He went out with that knee injury, boom, win and cover the spread in their next 2 games. And then to your point, as time goes on, lack of a star player will catch up to you. They look terrible against Boston, and they played a sloppy game against Golden State. But you're not anticipating that short-term, win one for the Gipper. Let's just go out and rally and play lights out against Miami on Wednesday. You think that they're going to be a little bit demoralized in this game?
I think I do. I think they're going to be demoralized. Although I say that, but there is a chance that they could win the game against Miami. Miami's playing a back-to-back. They're playing their 3rd road game in 4 nights. Then they have another road game. So Miami's going to end up playing, I believe, 4 road games in 6 nights. So, they're getting the Heat in a really good spot, so to speak. Miami's got a game with Phoenix tonight in Phoenix, so that they catch the Heat in a really, really difficult situation. If this was, say, the Nuggets versus the Washington Wizards, so to speak, I'd be all over the Wizards in this game. I don't like the bump that we've talked about before when your star player gets hurt. They could get this game, although I lean Miami, to be honest. I don't see value on Denver for a little while.
Yeah, Miami. What the hell do we do with these guys? Like, they've won 5 of 6. They're 4-2 against the spread in those 6 games, but that came after a 3-game losing streak. They just cannot seem to get any type of traction. So what do we do with Miami moving forward? How are you handicapping this team down the stretch?
It's a tough team. Miami is very similar to Boston in that they have dealt with injuries and guys not playing all season long. I think myself and you, I believe, and some other people that I talked to, we weren't high on Miami to start the year. They played so well in the bubble last year. Guys like Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero just became household names for us. And you knew that they were good basketball players for sure, but they weren't gonna keep up that stardom that they had in the bubble. So we were really fading Miami early on. Then they got hurt. Jimmy Butler missed some games. Bam Adebayo missed some games. Slowly but surely, they're starting to get healthy. This is a tough spot. If this was just a normal middle of the week game, Miami had played maybe last night, had a day off, we'd be all over Miami. No doubt about it. We'd be laying, probably getting a couple points in Denver. We'd be all about Miami. They're just such a tough team to figure out because one day everybody's playing and one day everybody's not playing. But with all that being said, we do like the Heat in Denver because they are 5-3 against the spread in 8 back-to-back games this year.
Also 8-3 against the spread on the road. I'm actually going to take the other side here. I'm sticking with Denver. A system is only a system if you play it at any time. And I've just seen so many of these bizarre situations where a team loses its star player. You think there's absolutely no way that they're going to be able to compensate for it. And then they turn around and win by 20. The one caveat I will say is that Tuesday night game in Phoenix is going to be determinative. It's going to change the number of what this game is on Wednesday, and it could change the motivation level. If Miami beats Phoenix or even plays in a close game, I don't think they're going to have the legs to play against a possibly very motivated Denver team. If Miami gets run out of the gym against Phoenix tonight and loses by 20 against a Suns team that has been red hot, then I think we're going to see a little bit better effort in Denver. But a really interesting game on Wednesday night's card. All right, not really an interesting game. This is like the third game we're talking about is like the degenerate game of the night. We have Washington at Sacramento. It's the last game of the night. So, those guys that are up or down, they're going to double down or do whatever stupid thing they want to do on this game. You got two bad teams that nobody really cares about. Defense is absolutely optional in this game. I think they're the two worst defensive teams in the NBA. But you've been doing this long enough to know you can find a little value in these situations, can you not?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny that you said this is the last game of the night and people are going to be looking for things. Man, I remember back in college, I was all about the Vancouver Grizzlies late Friday night. The Grizzlies are playing tonight. People watching this video.
Right, you win your early games and you're like, let's just double down on whoever Vancouver's playing that night. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's how Gonzaga got it. Gonzaga and Gonzaga basketball, Boise State football. That's how they got their start going too. It was the D-Gen special game of the night.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is weird because the Kings are just brutal right now. They've lost 7 games in a row straight up, failed to cover 6 of their last 7. But then on the other hand, you're looking at the Wizards who have won 3 of their last 4 games. The one game they lost, they got hammered by the Suns, but there was no Bradley Beal. And if you take an even closer look at that game, the Wizards had gotten outscored by the Suns by 8 points over the first, second, and fourth quarters. But the reason that game was a blowout is because coming out of halftime, they got outscored 44-24 in the third quarter. So, outside of one quarter of 4 games, the Wizards have looked really pretty strong. But we're not liking either side here. We are all about the total here. We're all about the total. And it's funny because you said defense optional, but we're going the other way. This is the 6th and final game of a 6-game road trip for the Wizards. So you're going to see some tired legs. We see this game being in the mid 230s, high 230s. And actually, the Kings have fallen short of the posted total in 3 of their last 4 games and 5 of their last 7 games. So because of that, in the D-Gen special of the night, we like the under here.
Okay, that I can get behind. A little against the grain, go against the public totals play. That I wholeheartedly support. And you're right. These are 2 top 10 offenses, shockingly, and 2 of the worst defenses in the league. So that is going to inflate that total and get that in the high 230. So I think you're right there, that there is some value going against the grain and looking for maybe a lower scoring game. And for the reason that you pointed out, I actually kind of like Sacramento here. Washington has been playing really well. They beat Utah in Salt Lake City as an 11-point underdog. That was their last game. But that also puts them in a letdown spot. You touched on this is the end of a 6-game, 12-day road trip for them, coming off that high of beating Utah. Do you think they care about a trip to Sacramento? Absolutely not. When they leave the hotel to go to the arena, the bags are packed. They know they're getting on the plane and heading home after this game, win or lose. Absolutely no motivation, where you have a Sacramento team that, they have nothing to play for other than pride. And when you've lost 7 games in a row, pride starts to sting you a little bit. So they've won 3 in a row against Washington. I think Sacramento's actually going to come to play. I think Washington's going to be posted as a road favorite in this game. And there's just absolutely no way that I could trust them laying points on the road, even though they have been playing pretty well lately. So, all right, Nolan, you got to give the people what they want. You got to give the people a free play. What's something that they can take away from this and go put some money down on?
By the way, I agree with you on Sacramento wholeheartedly. I think that's a great call. I like that side as well. Listen, I did my research. on the total of this Kings-Wizards game. Last game of the night. This was my special growing up, the last game of the night. I love the under here. I think you're going to see an inflated total with 2 teams. I think you're going to see a Washington team that's not motivated. I would not be surprised to not see Beal, not see Westbrook. There's going to be guys that are not going to play. Buddy Hield didn't play the other night for Sacramento. You might not see him again. So I think that total is going to be too high. So our free play is going to be the under in the Kings and Wizards.
All right, there you have it. He's Nolan Patrick with Strike Point Sports. I am Robert Faringo. We are both of Doc Sports, docsports.com. Go there, check us out. Be sure to check back next week for another Hump Day Hero video with Nolan Patrick. Till then, carpe diem and good luck.